welcome everybody. So we are starting our second quarter of wellness, and the Wellness Committee, with the help of Angie Jenkins, our host today, have decided that mental health is going to be what we're going to focus on. So that's the theme. And Angie has put together this live webinar for us, Importance of Personal Reflection and Self-Awareness. This is going to be a great way to kick off this quarter's wellness. So you can take it away, Angie.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ani. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking some time to spend with us this afternoon. I realize it's lunchtime, so hopefully you have something next to you that you can munch on while we are going to talk for the next 45 minutes. So I do want to let you know that today's session is going to be interactive in regards to activities that I have planned for you. So while I'm just going over the agenda today and what we're going to chat about, if you have something, a pen and paper, or anything that you want to open up in your phone or on your computer to take notes, again, we do have activities for you today to help with the balance, with the personal reflection, and really all of these activities are going to help and hopefully inspire you if you are working to improve your mental well-being. So today, kind of the boring stuff, but we will go ahead and define, what personal reflection and self-awareness is. Again, I have activities that will support that, as well as examples of, I'm going to do a meditation for you guys at the end of our session as well today. So hopefully you will enjoy some of these activities and find them useful. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat. Feel free with keeping your computer camera on or off, whatever you're comfortable with. But really just the whole idea here is to get these activities, these resources, and really just hone in on what we can do to improve our mental well-being. And with personal reflection and so again, practical takeaways for today's session as well. So again, a little bit of the nuts and bolts before we really dive in here. So what is personal reflection? As the definitions show here, so it's really to evaluate and give serious thought about your character, your actions, your behaviors, desires, and motivations, right? I mean, that's kind of us in a nutshell, in our skin. That's what we are trying to understand ourselves at the end of the day, or at least I am still at this point of my life in my late 40s. And it's a work in progress, right? So I'm not the same person that I was, even 5 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And I don't expect myself to, be in the same mental state going forward in the different areas of my life as well. And that's all good. And it's just all about, again, reflecting on what we are desired to, what's our desires, what motivates us, what gets us out of bed in the morning. And that's where this personal reflection really comes in handy. And so again, personal reflection is really the process of diving deep into your thoughts, including your emotions, the motivation, like I said, and really what determines the great why. What drives you? What are you inspired by? And hopefully, again, this session will kind of get those gears turning for you so you can really dive in deep to that. Now, I'm not going to go over all of these statistics here, but I do think it's important to acknowledge and understand that we all know that we're overly busy with life, right? We have our work, we have our outside life, maybe a family that we're taking care of. But where does social media come into play with this? And as you can see, these statistics are kind of staggering in that regard. There's a lot of idle time that we spend on our phones or on our computers or on our tablets and devices. And again, this is just all about awareness, right? This is about this personal reflection and becoming more aware. And so the social media aspect hasn't really helped us prioritize our life and help us balance, because we are spending a little more time than maybe we think we are using technology. And so the main thing I would like you to take away from this slide is really learning to pause, because that allows our growth. That allows us to catch up. And we'll talk about mindfulness here in a few slides, but we already know that we're busy. We know that we have a lot of demands on us. We rush from one thing to the other. But when we don't take that time to slow down and reflect, those significant life markers never become life markers. The conversation we had in passing, the person that we met who might have made a profound impact on us someday, we might not necessarily be able to really truly appreciate that experience if we don't allow ourselves just to take that moment to pause. And so reflection really turns our experience into insight. And people say experience is a hard teacher because the test is given first and the lesson is given afterwards. And that's true, but only if the person takes that time to reflect after the experience. Otherwise, we might just receive the test first and that lesson may never come. So, leading into our first activity today, I'd really like you, and I'll walk you through this first, but I'd really like you to think about what percentage of the day do you spend in each of these areas here? So this is my wheel, my personal wheel of reflection, and I'm going to ask you guys to do this just in a moment. I'll give you a couple of minutes, but think about how much time you think you're dedicating to your family, to your career or job, to your health, personal growth, and all of these bullets that I have here are emotions and technology. We can't leave that out, right? We have our phones with us 24/7, and sometimes I think that's good. I have 4 kids, and so when they're not with me, I absolutely have my phone next to me all of the time. But does that mean that I'm on it scrolling? Sometimes yes, but I'm trying to get better at that as a personal goal for myself as well. So thinking about how much time would you guesstimate, and go ahead and draw the circle. You don't have to be creative, just writing out the percentages with each of these bullet points that I have here on the wheel. But let's take some time and think about how much time you dedicate to each of these areas in your life right now. And this is the first part of this activity. So I'm going to go ahead and set my timer. And we're going to go ahead and do this for, let's say, 90 seconds to start. And we'll go ahead and start that now. And we have 30 more seconds to finish up this first part of our activity here. Okay, and as we wrap up this first part of how you predict how you spend your time in each of these categories, the second piece is, and this is the fun part, I think, draw another circle or another column and divide out on how you would like to spend your day. How is that going to vary from your guesstimate from this first part to how you would like to spend it? And again, let's go ahead and give that another 90 seconds here. And again, about another 30 seconds to wrap this up. Okay, obviously, if this wasn't enough time, we can go back and do this on your own time after our presentation today. But really, when we're able to identify where we spend our time each day, what a great way to, you know, reflect on our personal reflection and really noticing between your guesstimate versus how you would like to spend your time in each of these categories. What modifications do you need to make that better fit for a better balance for your day? And just take note of that. So again, I'll provide Ani with the PDF of this so you can go back and, spend some more time if we didn't allow for enough time, but I have a lot of really great things for us to go over today. But again, just a really great starting point in where we're spending our time versus where we would like to spend our time. All right, another one of my favorite activities. So you guys are in for a good treat today. This is my favorite presentation with these activities. So now I would like you to think of, what does your perfect day look like? Create your perfect day. I mean, we're not talking about any boundaries, any limits, I should say, any restrictions. Now, winning the lotto, maybe that's kind of outside of what we can control. But thinking about your perfect day, what does that look like? So again, the sky's the limit. Don't think too much. Just write down everything that incorporates a perfect day for you. So just a quick example for me, I would have, a chef here cooking a healthy breakfast for my family. Maybe incorporating a massage in the morning, really getting that physical activity and making time for that, spending one-on-one time with my kids. Now, all of this is realistic for me and what I'm working towards, but if I'm really going to create my perfect day, I'm going to go rock some babies. I'm going to go walk some puppies. I'm going to create music playlists and, do all those kinds of things that I really have a passion for, that we don't always have time for that. So again, let's go ahead and take a minute or two. I'm not good with idle time. That's why I keep setting my timer here. I want to make sure that I allow enough time for all of these activities and really think about and create your perfect day. I'm going to give this one another 30 seconds. So now that you have an idea of what your perfect day looks like, the next piece is look at your list that you have right now that you just created and check mark or circle the areas of your perfect day that you can incorporate into your regular day. Now, for me, like I said, I love babies and I love animals and puppies, so I might not be able to do that on a regular basis, realistically, or a daily basis, but I could go volunteer, at the Humane Society, or go work with animals, or, go see if I could help a friend out that maybe just had a newborn or toddler, and really see where you can incorporate your perfect day into your regular day. And we'll take a few just a minute or two to go ahead and do that as well. And as we're wrapping up this activity here, really my whole idea with, besides it being a fun thing to think about, is, life can be kind of mundane. We kind of sometimes get into these phases where it just feels maybe like Groundhog's Day. And I'm speaking from personal experience, where it's just like we wake up and we do the same thing over and over. And not that that's a bad thing, especially if we're in a place where we love what we do. But usually there's more to it, right? Usually we have something else in our mind that we would like to incorporate. Maybe we are bored. And again, creating your perfect day and thinking about that just kind of helps you take that next step, and at least, having that personal reflection and that self-awareness, which we're going to talk about next, on what would make your day better. And sometimes it doesn't often take a whole lot of things. And we might not have our perfect day every single day, but if we can start to incorporate the things that mean the most to us, that we don't do on a regular basis, that can just help us with our attitudes, with our mental well-being, for sure, kind of getting out of that rut that we sometimes feel like we're in. So moving along to self-awareness, again, just to give definitions so we're all on the same page here. Self-awareness is the ability to perceive and understand the things that make you who you are as an individual. Also, having a clear understanding of oneself, including our strengths, our beliefs, our values, our emotions, and our thoughts. So once we have a better understanding of who we are, what goals and values we have with ourselves, with our family, with our core unit, that's just going to help us kind of get out of that rut and help us be stronger mentally, right? So I'd like you just to take a moment and close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. If not, just soften your gaze and just listen and envision what I'm going to ask you here in the next couple of minutes. So close your eyes, and in your mind's eye, picture yourself looking in the mirror. What do you notice when you see your reflection in your mind's eye? What physical characteristics stand out? What thoughts come to your mind? Do you maybe notice any physical sensations when you're looking at yourself in the mirror? Are they positive, negative thoughts, or maybe a combination of both? And again, really giving ourselves these couple of moments to pause and reflect on who we truly are really makes a big impact on our big picture. It impacts how we act and react to our family. And if you have little kids at home, I do, well, they're youngish, 10th grade, 6th grade, 4th, and kindergarten. So I'm kind of in, the heaviness of parenting right now. Again, I was a different person before I was a mom. I'm going to be a different person more than likely when my kids are adults. But right now, what am I doing? What means the most to me? And for me, that's the health and safety and happiness of my family, and doing what I can to help them be their best versions of themselves as I'm trying to become the best version of myself. So obviously we can see it's a tug and pull. It's a fine balance. But again, when we're more self-aware, we're able to navigate through these and help others if we're, able to impact others in that regard too. And so if you did in this activity, have any negative thoughts, How could you change that? How can you have maybe a negative thought that you thought of yourself looking in the mirror? How can we change that to be a positive thought? And I tell you, I'm my own worst critic. I think a lot of us are harder on ourselves than we need to be. And one thing I'm working on is giving myself grace. Obviously, I'm not perfect. None of us are, right? But what can I do to lessen that? What can I do to be nicer to myself, if you will? I don't talk to other people the way I talk to myself in my mind. I am just how you see me now, bright and happy and bubbly. And I am to myself sometimes too. But again, there's that fine line and balance where, some things I'm not, want to change and I'm working on, and that's wonderful. And so count those silver linings, count those steps that you're making forward, and focus on the positive as opposed to the things that might be bogging you down. If things are bogging you down, write it out. What can you do differently in that regard? So the next activity I have is thinking about a past experience. And I'm going to share one here with you in a moment and then give you a couple of minutes to go ahead and work this through for yourself. But really, the whole idea here is learning from a past situation. And so really, when we want to reach our full potential, we have to allow ourselves to grow. And to grow, we have to be highly intentional about it. We have to make the effort. A lot of times it just doesn't come naturally, right? And so this refers to both our physical and our mental well-being. And when we focus on growing on the inside, we naturally grow stronger on the outside. And as we all know, change sometimes takes time and growth takes time, as well as the self-awareness and skill development that we are maybe have our eyes set on. So this is the example. Again, I'm going to run you through it on an experience I had, and it's a light experience. So please don't think too much about it. But this is what I came up with when I first created the presentation. So my daughter at the time when this happened, I had to take her food before a volleyball match, I believe it was. So what was the event? Getting a sandwich for my daughter. With an hour and 15 left of this establishment's closing time. So I went in with the intention to get her a sandwich, to get her a drink, and then go drop it off to her before she had to go. So with an hour and 15 minutes left before they closed, they wouldn't serve me the sandwich that I asked for because they already cleaned their toaster machine. And I know this again kind of sounds silly, but I tell you what, how did it make me feel? At that point in time, I was annoyed, I was frustrated, and a little bit angry because now I had to figure out what else am I going to do in a pinch like this, right? Because if you have kids, especially teenage kids, they don't always tell you things with plenty of time and warning. So I was in a pinch for time. How did I handle the situation? I asked what time they closed and I looked at my watch. So kind of that passive aggressive thing, which I'm not proud of, but this is where this personal reflection and growth comes in, right? How could I have handled it differently? Just simply ask, why? I mean, you can't throw a bagel in and toast it for 30 seconds and give me the sandwich. I could have just asked, but I didn't. And that was my situation there. How could it have been a better outcome? Well, personally, I could have had a better understanding to why there was this disconnect that they couldn't turn the toaster back on. And I might not have been annoyed thinking about it. And this was a week later. This is literally almost a year later. And it still kind of ruffles my feathers. Not to where I'm losing sleep by any stretch of the imagination, but it was still annoying because that's not how it should be, right? What did I learn about myself? I learned that I could have been a little more assertive. I'm a nice person anyways, and that's probably why I looked at my watch, because I didn't want to be mean, because in my head I wanted to be, but I wasn't. Voice my frustration to the employees, and then maybe we, could have taught them something too, because they were younger employees as well. And then going forward, what things could I have done to stop and think rather than behave? Just voice that empathy, right? Maybe they were having an off day. Maybe there was a legitimate reason that they didn't share with me why their toaster was shut down an hour and 15 minutes before the time. So again, I know it's kind of an elementary example, but let's go ahead and give you a couple of minutes and really think about an example. Could be much more severe, could be not quite as, whatever popped into your mind. Kind of run through these prompts and see how you could handle it differently going forward. And we'll go ahead and do 2 minutes for this one. Just under 30 seconds to wrap this up. Okay, gave you a little bit longer because I said originally 2 minutes there. So when we say that we want to live intentional, that it requires good awareness. To develop healthier habits, we've got to get off autopilot. And to get off autopilot, we really need to slow down and insert this reflection time and ask ourselves these questions. So I love this picture and just, looking at it, which way do you fall? Is your mind full? Where we're seeing here on the left-hand side where, I mean, honestly, I feel like in any given day, I have 1,000 tabs open in my head, like a browser. And what can we do to minimize those? That's the whole idea here, is to give ourselves this pause, to be in the present moment, to enjoy life. And how can we do that? Or we can't do that very well, or as well as we could, if we are able to be mindful, where we can just focus on what our experience is at the time. Right now, do you have, your to-do list that you need to, that's running through your head that you think you have to do when you get home? Do you thinking about the errands that you need to run? Or are you able to kind of set those aside and be mindful with me and listen to these tips and tricks to help you move forward? So really with mindfulness, it's the human ability to feel and be fully present and aware of where we are and what we are doing. Now, the key here is, and this is a big one for me, is not to become overly reactive or overwhelmed by life around us. And when we're mindful, that helps us to become a little stronger mentally, where we can just kind of put those things aside for a moment, focus on our kids or the dinner that we're having with a friend or a loved one, sitting in the sunshine without thinking about the 1,000 things that you have to do. And I would encourage all of you to work on being more mindful and being more present in the moment, because there are numerous benefits that we have from when we're able to let our mind relax and really hone in on life around us, right? Being in tune with our mental, physical, and emotional responses and processes when we're being mindful, all of those kind of go together. And so being mindful, we can practice it by meditations. Like I said, I'm going to walk you through a guided meditation when we're done here. You can do body scans, just, thinking about how your body feels, where you're maybe holding some tension, doing some stretches to release that tension, and even just as simple as breathing and pausing and focusing on your breath for 30 or 60 seconds instead of pausing and rushing to the next thing. So again, I encourage you to do some mindfulness practices. And so why do we use mindfulness? I mentioned it brings us back to the present. It helps us with stress reduction. It helps with emotional regulation, and it improves our cognitive function. So if I'm thinking about myself where I'm really trying to be mindful, it's when my time that I have with my kids, right? They get home from school, so have like 4 to 5 hours with them a day after school. It's not a lot of time, although some days it can feel like it's more like 10 hours, but I think you all get my drift here. So what I try to do is put the phone down. If we're cleaning, include them in it if they're willing. That's kind of a far shot, but what I can do is, use different times when I'm not with them to do the things I need to. So we can go outside and play catch. So we can go play basketball and do whatever those things are. But one thing I find absolutely astonishing, and it makes 100% sense, when we're present in the moment, it helps to reduce the worry of future or past events. And this is a proven statistic. Psychology has conducted studies on worry and found that on average, 90% of the things that we worry about don't even happen. 90%. Think about that just for a quick moment. What do you have on your mind? For me, it's like, oh gosh, I worry about my kids X, Y, and Z. Well, 90% of the time, I don't have control over that. There's just, that's what it is. And it's a lot of wasted time and effort and energy in this situation for me that I'm sharing with you. But 90% of the things that we think about and worry about don't even come to fruition. So again, being mindful really helps with our ability to observe and listen to our emotions. It can help regulate our emotions. And then with that cognitive improvement, it's increased due to the fact that we're able to focus our attention for a period of time instead of hopping from one thing to the other. All right, another one of my favorite activities here. So I am going to have you do a brain dump. And so this brain dump is going to be me giving you 60 seconds to literally write or type out everything that's on your mind. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about punctuation. Just write literally everything out that is on your mind. And then there'll be 2 more steps after that. So go ahead and do this brain dump for me right now. About 10 more seconds for this portion of the brain dump. The second piece I would like you to do now that you have everything or as much as you could write out in 60 seconds, now categorize. So do you find patterns like work to-dos, errands, things for your family or friends, things that you need to do at home? So next, go ahead and categorize your brain dump. And the last piece of this, after you have your brain dump in categories, now prioritize each of your categories. What's the one or two most important things in each of these categories that you have that you need to tackle or focus on first? All right, and so we're going to move on for the sake of time. So this is one of my go-tos when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I feel like I just can't close those tabs down. This is my go-to, and it might take you longer than 60 seconds. That's okay. This was just an example to get you started, but really see what insight you can get here. And sometimes it might not always be a to-do list. Sometimes it might be feelings and emotions, and just it really provides that self-awareness that we're talking about. It provides that insight, and it allows us to have that personal reflection on how we can better categorize and organize our brain dump, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or all of the above. So other mindfulness practices. So the brain dump is one way to journal. Huge fan of journaling. I'm going to roll you through a couple of journaling prompts here in a moment before our meditation, but really focusing on, mindful eating, and whether weight management is a concern or a goal of yours, just really being mindful of what we're eating and taking that time to pause for ourselves while we're nourishing our body. Taking those breaks, they're so imperative for our mental and physical well-being. I work virtually, so I'm not around people. So I have to make it a priority to stand up and, even walk to the mailbox just to get that little bit of fresh air, get that little bit of, vitamin D from the sunshine. Take those breaks as much as you're able to, and as much as you're allowed. And then we talked about that self-talk. So really notice where your mind goes. If you're frustrated with yourself or frustrated in general, where do you go with the self-talk? Is it more like you're talking to a spouse or a best friend or a parent or a child? Or is it more, hard on yourself that like we had talked about earlier? So I'd encourage you to think about that and really kind of be mindful of that as well. Again, I'll share all of these with you. I really want to walk you through our guided meditation, but just some journaling prompts to kind of get you thinking about personal reflection and self-awareness. So describing how you take care of yourself, what are 4 words that best describe you, what motivates you. And so you can find a lot of these journal prompts on the internet if you literally just put in the search engine, personal reflection, self-care, motivation, any type of category you're thinking of. If you put it in the search bar, you're going to come up with numerous and very helpful journal prompts here. So just a quick little background on the practice of meditation. This dates back to 1500 BC. So it has been around for quite some time. Ancient roots, modern applications, it's used more and more. We hear more and more about it. And in my 25 plus years of experience in the health and well-being industry, meditation has always kind of been in the sideline, but very prevalent, I would say, the last 7 to 10 years. And something that I really enjoy guiding people through. You can, again, Google, YouTube, meditations, guided meditations for kind of how you're feeling, springtime, summertime, holidays, or even if you just want a self-care guided meditation. There's lots of scripts and videos out there for you to kind of dabble in. But meditation, if we practice it on a regular basis, research shows that we're more productive, confident, creative, compassionate, and peaceful. Zinger when there, improved heart and heart health, skin health. Our sleeping tends to be improved, and we have increased laughter and positive attitude. So again, don't know about you guys, but I can certainly use all of that. All of those reminders and just all those enhancements and benefits, right? Just from giving ourselves that break, giving our mind that break, giving our body that break. Okay, so for our last couple of minutes here, Please find yourself in a comfortable position. Again, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, please feel free to do so. But we're going to go ahead and start with a nice deep breath in through our nose. Pausing for a moment and breathing out through your mouth. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. Breathing in through our nose. Pausing. And exhaling through your mouth. Go ahead and do that one more time and let your body really get relaxed. Let the chair fully support your body as you continue to breathe and relax. Now use your imagination to picture yourself walking slowly along a path. It's a pleasant path, any kind that you wish. It's a beautiful day and you feel relaxed and happy. You can feel the warmth and energy of the sunlight on your skin. Soon, you come to a gate. You know this gate leads to a special place where you feel welcomed, safe, and comfortable. Push the gate open and allow yourself to enter your very own private garden. Your garden is filled with your favorite things. Whatever is pleasing to you can be found in this place. Perhaps there are flowers, trees, animals, birds, water, or even music. Look around and notice what's in your special garden. See all the colors and objects that are in this place. And notice how beautiful they are. Look at the various shapes and see how different they are. Look at the ground, and then at the sky, and in the middle where they meet. Your garden is calm and tranquil. Everything peacefully coexists in this garden. And as you are looking, become aware of how things might feel in this private place of yours. Begin to explore this place with your sense of touch. Perhaps some things are soft and warm. Others may be smooth or cool. Simply spend some time exploring, using your sense of touch as you continue to feel at peace and comfortable. Notice what the air feels like. Is it cool or warm? Is there a breeze or is it still? Take the time to feel the peace and serenity in your private garden. As you continue to explore your garden by seeing and feeling, become aware of the sounds that you hear. The sounds in the garden are pleasing to the ear and very comforting. Perhaps it's quiet, or maybe there are a number of sounds. Some sounds that may be very soft, while others may be louder. Relax and listen and see if you can identify the different sounds in your garden. As you're listening to the sounds in your garden, become aware of what smells you might smell. Take a deep breath in and notice the fragrances that are present. Some of them may be familiar, while others may be unfamiliar. Either way, the fragrances are pleasant and soothing. Take your time and enjoy your visit to your garden, using it in whatever way that you wish. And for another couple of seconds here, really take in your experience of your favorite garden with all of your favorite things. Revisiting this garden whenever you wish to spend the time necessary for you to rejuvenate and to care for yourself. And when you are ready to leave, slowly walk back towards the gate of your garden. You have enjoyed this visit and feel relaxed and content. This good feeling will remain with you throughout the day. Push the gate open and return to the path that led you to the garden. As you make your way up to the path to the here and now, again, remember that you can use your imagination to return to this place anytime that you wish. Visit your garden anytime you would like to relax, to be comforted, or just to enjoy its beauty. So now that you are ready to resume your day, gently stretch and open your eyes, feeling refreshed and alert. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our presentation today. I appreciate all of your time and attention. I hope you all found some good tools that you'll be able to go forward using to help with your mental well-being. And if there's any questions or comments, you can put them in the chat, or you can certainly let Ani or I know, and we can get back with you at that time as well. But enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Have a good day, everybody.